Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Today, I have to start a little bit differently. This is a very special day. Today is my son's 38th birthday. So, happy birthday, Jonathan. I hope you have a wonderful day. Wish I could be with you. Love you. That's good. This past week, I was talking to a friend. She's an English-Portuguese teacher. And throughout the course of our conversation, the topic of age came up. I found that she was the same age as my son, Jonathan. So I tried to describe myself with a couple of Portuguese words, velho, antigo, and she kindly contradicted me by saying, "You're not old, you're just a classic." Well, that's nice. But you know what? I've been to a few classic car shows, and most of those cars are old. And very often, their drivers are too. But that's life. We live, we grow up, we age, and things change. So consider with me. We all have experiences. We all learn. But we sometimes fail to learn from these experiences. Experiences that can be the best teachers. How many times have you heard, "I'll never do that again," or "I need to remember to do that more often"? Our experiences, good or bad, are always opportunities to learn. You see, learning is more than just adding creases to this gray matter up here, and I'm not talking about the hair. Learning involves changing your habits, changing your activities, changing your behavior. While driving to work yesterday, I remembered an event that happened in my much younger days. I had only been out of college for a couple of years, working in a church in Tampa while completing my master's degree. At that time, the denomination in which I was involved, not the UMC, had annual music competitions. Vocal, instrumental, solo, ensemble, choir. These competitions created motivation to improve your musical skills and provided momentum for children's and youth music programs. Well, at this Tampa church, we had a children's choir, directed by my wife, that had some incredible talent. They entered competition and went all the way to the state level, and won state in their category. These kids were amazing. They were doing things musically that was well beyond their years. Now, in this denomination, there was also a monthly publication for all the churches in the state. So, following the competition, there was a section of the publication that highlighted all the winners. Their name, their picture, where they were from, and the category they had won. So we were excited. And when we received the publication, we saw where everything was listed, highlighted in detail. Everything except our choir. We had just won the largest category of competition, and it was like we didn't even exist. Now, while I didn't actually direct this choir, I took great pride in knowing they were a product of our music program. These were a great bunch of kids, and I felt like they had accomplished something great, but were being robbed of the recognition they deserved. Have you ever experienced this? You accomplish something that you feel deserves recognition, a pat on the back, but receive none. How does it make you feel? Frustrated? Discouraged? Angry? Yep, that was pretty much the way I felt and the way I reacted. You see, things were further complicated by the fact that the gentleman responsible for this statewide publication actually had 2 of his children in the choir. Now, note, this was pre-email days, all right? So in my youthful, arrogant, frustrated way, I fired off a letter to this gentleman. In the body of the letter, I basically asked him how he could possibly neglect not only this choir, but his own children, and deny them the recognition they deserved. Yeah, it was nasty. It wasn't very nice at all. But I put a stamp on the envelope, dropped it in the mail, done. Now, this gentleman and his family had gone on vacation for a few days, so I knew he wouldn't receive my rebuke right away. A couple of days later, I told my wife, the director of the group, what I had done, and she was horrified. She listed it out for me. Number 1, you're an idiot. Number 2, you don't treat people like that. And number 3, don't you realize this man and our pastor, under whom you serve, are personal friends? He might well suggest to our pastor that you should not be on staff. You might have just put your job in jeopardy. Did I think about those things when writing that letter? Nope. It was just an experience. I hadn't learned anything, but I was about to. So my next reaction was to retrieve that letter before it was read. So I ran by this man's house, hoping to get the letter from his mailbox. By the way, don't ever do this. You can get in big trouble. Only to find he already had someone checking his mail, and the letter was gone. So my only recourse was to write a second letter, apologizing for my hasty, ill-chosen words in the first, and pray. That could have been just an experience in the effects of an unchecked temper, but it became an opportunity for learning. Here's lesson number 1. Your actions and your words always have consequences. I realized that partly because of my conscience. This guy was really my friend too. And partly, largely, at least at the beginning, from the stern reasoning of my wife. This gentleman and his family returned from vacation. He received and read both letters. And I learned lesson number 2. It was a lesson taught from the response I received after this gentleman had read both letters. Now, he could have felt like he was under a personal attack and respond in kind. He could have seen me as no longer a friend, but an enemy. I once read about a football player. The guy was an offensive lineman who sometimes missed the completion of a play because his intent was to destroy the person across the line who opposed him. He would lose sight of the big picture because of his personal goal. If we're placed in a position where we feel like we are experiencing personal attack, whether it be physical or verbal, our natural response is the same. Destroy the opponent. But we are then tempted to maintain such tunnel vision that we miss everything else going on around us. And our opportunities to learn can blow right past us. Fortunately, the gentleman who was the recipient of my ill-written letters was mature and had already learned this lesson. And his response to me was very humbling and a real teaching moment. Here's what happened. Number one, he apologized to me. He had not realized the omission in the state paper until after it had been published, while he was on vacation. Number two, he recognized and understood my frustration. That's what I call maturity. And number three, he had received my second letter and with grace assured me there were no hard feelings and nothing to worry about. He could have responded with the same attitude I first displayed. He could have responded out of a need to defend himself. But he chose to respond with grace, humility, kindness, and it taught me a valuable lesson that I've never forgotten. Lesson number two is this: even when people say things that might be offensive, displaying anger and frustration when it seems like a personal attack, let your response be filled with kindness and grace. You have the opportunity to diffuse the situation or accelerate it. This was for me a huge learning experience. And in learning, I began to change my attitude and behavior. And that change was the catalyst behind a change in habit. The Apostle Paul said, "Your life will display your fruits." Make sure the fruits you display are found in this list. Is that what's being displayed in your life today? In my life? Every day we're going to have different experiences. Every day we're going to have the opportunity to learn. The greatest lesson you can possibly learn is this: you and I need to depend on Jesus. That means you give your heart to Him. Your soul, your mind becomes His. Your life and your steps every day are there to be controlled by His Spirit working in your life and giving you guidance. There are some lessons we learn that will last a lifetime. And then there are experiences had and lessons learned that will affect us for all eternity. Come to Jesus. Let Him take control and be blessed every day of your life and every moment throughout eternity. God bless. Have a wonderful day.